Hey y'all, welcome back to Fitting and Homemaking. My name is Sarah. If you're new here, if you're not new, thank you for watching more than one video. I very much appreciate that. If you're not subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything. Now, you may have noticed that the words that are coming to your ears do not look like the words that are coming out of my mouth on the screen. And that's because even though I'm wearing a mic in this video, something happened. So the audio in the original video is total crap. But what I'm explaining here is that we have a little bit of a bunny problem in our yard right now. What I'm showing you is my strawberry patch, and my kids really love being able to, at the end of the day, go and pick a few strawberries from here and kind of eat them straight off the plants. They're nice, they're sun-warmed, they're delicious and juicy. Sorry, I tried to say delicious and juicy at the exact same time and it didn't work. But yeah, the bunnies have been eating pretty much anything remotely ripe on these strawberry plants for this past week. So I am going to try to get a solution out here. You could just see me pointing around the perimeter of the little landscaping bricks, I guess we'll call them. They're actually concrete. But in a video that I did the week before this, I was removing some Virginia creeper and I found some extra wire mesh, and I'm going to go ahead and use that to make a little surround around the patch to just deter the bunnies. Obviously, bunnies can hop pretty high, so hopefully it will just be a deterrent. Here you can see the mesh. I'm saying, hey, I've got some wire mesh, I've got my nailing pad, I've got my wire cutters, click, 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 and behind me I've got some ice water because it's fairly hot and humid this day. It may not look like that because I'm wearing long sleeves and sweatpants in this, but that's more of because I'm a mosquito magnet, and when I was doing the Virginia Creeper video, I just got annihilated by some mosquitoes. So I was very itchy. And I was wearing pants in that video, but the pants were thin enough where the mosquitoes actually bit me through my pants. So I prefer just to be hot and sweaty and gross rather than getting eaten up more. I'm just explaining that this mesh is not long enough to fit around the inside perimeter of that strawberry patch, so I am just snipping it down the middle with these wire snips. I think at some point I was saying how my neighbors were out and they probably thought I was psycho, seeing me filming myself in my driveway and talking to myself. But then I acknowledged that I was not actually talking to myself because I'm actually talking to y'all. So maybe that makes me slightly less crazy. I'm not certain. Voila, two pieces. Fantastic. So they're roughly the same height. I just kind of estimated on where the center was. So we're going to pick up our crap and we're going to go back to the strawberry patch where I started this video. All right, and here we are, and this strawberry bed is very weirdly shaped, I guess I would say. And all of this kind of hardscaping, I think is what they call it. Anyway, the concrete pieces of the landscaping was put in by the previous owners. So I probably would have not made it such a complicated shape, or maybe done this in quite that way. I do like that the beds were already here when I moved in though, so I didn't have to build any new garden beds. So that was fantastic. But yeah, it makes this, getting this mesh in here a little bit more difficult, especially since these strawberries have spread quite a bit, so they're growing pretty close to the edge of the cement blocks there. It's a little bit more apparent with the second piece of mesh that I use here. And I had gone to the garage and I got a bit of wire because the mesh wasn't wanting to kind of stay in place that well, so I'm just kind of making it into like a little hook shape and staking it into the ground. And here I'm cutting the top of the mesh a little bit and bending it over just as an extra deterrent for the bunnies not to think that they can jump straight over the top. However, they could just jump up to the bed above it and then jump down that way. I do have another piece of mesh on the top of a garden bed in the back. I don't know if you can kind of see those little frame structures beyond the gardenia bush in the background there in front of our fence. But we're not using that second bed, so I could take the mesh off of that top one and just kind of lay it on top of these if I really needed to. But here you really see me struggling with trying to slot this in where it needs to be in based on that shape. And I just kind of, to a certain extent, I'm like, that's good enough. Kind of done playing around with it at that point. But bending it over on the top, hopefully that will be a little bit of a deterrent. And I think it did make it a little bit more stable where it's going to stay in place a little bit better by doing that. And normally I feel like if you are trying to keep something out, you would bend the mesh the opposite way that I'm bending it so that it makes it harder for them to jump up and over. But since I have little kids, I knew that they would just snag themselves on it all the time if I bent it the other way. So this is kind of a mom's compromise here. And since there are two pieces of mesh, I'm just tying them together with some more of that little wire so that there's not a gap there. They don't move around too much. Now, we did end up having a pretty busy week after this. My son ended up getting sick. So I think I filmed this on like a Wednesday, and I'm doing this voiceover and editing on a Friday so that you guys can get it bright and early tomorrow morning. But yeah, my son got sick, so we have not been out to the strawberry patch to check it. And here I think I'm just doing an outro. I'm not sure what all the gestures are. It's very sunny. I'm wearing my glasses instead of sunglasses, so very odd looking here, but I slow it down very quickly to say bye to y'all. And if you've made it this far, thanks for sticking with me through this somewhat chaotic video. And I hope you like, I hope you subscribe. I promise the next one's going to be better. We'll probably be indoors again, maybe doing some spring cleaning or cleaning some appliances or filters that need to be cleaned, something like that. Super exciting stuff, folks. Anyhow, thanks for sticking with it. I will see you in the next one. Bye.